Greetings everybody. My name is Enveri Sufi. I work in Institute for Organic Agriculture in Albania. I am expert in plant protection and in organic agriculture. The title of lesson for today is Organic Olive Production Part 2. We will continue from the first presentation, Insect Pest Control. In the first lesson, we are focused more in olive fly control. Now we'll discuss for another insect pest in olive groves. Here's some picture from black scale of olive trees, Sycetiolea. The first picture we see the black scale in olive branches. The next photo we see the larvae of Sycetiolea on the shells of the scale. The next picture we see a black leaves with a black layer. This is sooty mold caused from a saprophyte diseases. This saprophyte diseases is installed above the honeydews with a sugar content that is produced from scale. The next photo we see a very clear picture from adults from Sycetiolea. I see here on the upper side of the scale a form, H form. This is characteristic for Sycetiolea. Here we see the larvae and the eggs of Sycetiolea, nymphs too. Here we see here open shells and see so many eggs underside, inside of the scale. And we see here as a pollen, as a fine sand are these here. Eggs are hatched larvae. Larvae here are fixed on the leaves. I see here so many eggs and so many new larvae are hatched from the scale. Economic importance of the scale. Black scale of olive damages the olive trees through the sucking of the liquid of the plants. This is a direct damage. Indirect damage is covering of the leaves and the branches from black saprophytic fungus, so-called sooty mold. Black scale excrete a sugar substances known as honeydews, produced as byproduct of their feeding. Above the sugary substances develop such kind of fungus diseases. The black layer on the leaves reduces the vigor of the trees, reduce the photosynthesis processes. Leaves and the branches with a severe infection could be die. The plants are weaker and more weaker, and as a result, production of infected trees is reduced very much. High temperature combined with high air humidity are favorable conditions for development of this scale. In the olive blocks with very density of the plants and in the plants with very density of the branches, the black scale find a favorable conditions. Black scale pass the winter, that means overwintering, as a larva in second or third instar, or as a female adult. In the spring or in beginning of the summer, the females are grown. Exist only female population of the scale. Female produce the eggs inside its body. The eggs are as a dust or as a fine sand in creamy and latent in yellow color. From the eggs hatched the new larvae. The larvae moved on the leaves and the branches on the tree. The larvae are fixed on the leaves after some hours. Young larvae are fixed along the mid-rib of the leaf, usually near the mother scale. New larvae are a light pink-orange color with a size 0.2 to 0.3 mm and with black eyes. New larvae remove their skin, the mold, and become first instars. They are 0.6 to 0.75 mm long and 0.2 to 0.35 mm wide. The second instar. During this stage, a longitudinal ridge begins to take the form of the scale. The body is the pale brown with 4 dark brown patches, 0.6 to 0.8 mm long and 0.3 to 0.4 mm wide. Third instar. Ridges are clearly present with a light brown body that darkens with age. The dark patches are much bigger than in previous instar. They are 1 to 1.6 mm long and 0.5 to 0.8 mm wide. The adult female is nearly circular, often with ridge, later age on its back. The olive black scale developed one generation per season, but in some years could develop a second generation too. The hatching of the new larvae continues for some weeks, according to the withering stage. Eggs are laid from May to June. In some zones, laying of the eggs continue until the middle of July. The hatching of the larvae continues from middle of July until the first decade of August. The first instar larvae are very delicate to high temperature and in the summer. Majority of the larvae are destroyed from climatic conditions. The larvae of second generation go in diapause stage. In the late of autumn, some adults are prepared for overwintering time. Control measures against black scale. Treatments with insecticides have not so much success against black scale Syzetia olea. Combination of some agricultural measures and stimulation of development of beneficial insects are the best alternative against black scale. Olive trees must be cutting in order to penetrate the light, sunrise. The rays of the sun damage the first instar of the larvae. The olive trees must be planted in normal distances, not so close each other, avoiding the heavy cutting because they stimulate the emerge of young shoots that are much more preferable from larvae of first and second instar of the scale. In such cases, biomass with new seedlings need to thin in order to stimulate the growth of the branches. Biodiversity inside the block and outside the olive groves create the conditions for increasing a beneficial insect population that are very useful in reduction of olive scale Syzetia olea. Now we will see some pictures with beneficial insects that are much more fruitful than another practices in reduction of olive black scale. One of the most effective parasites on the black scale is parasite Scutellista cyanea, a parasite of Sycetiolea. Inside the scale is the nymph of Scutellista after parasitism of larvae and eggs of Sycetia. We see the hole from which the adult of Sycetia came out. In the photo we see Metophicus lonquiberae in picture 2, which is another very effective parasite against Sycetia olea 2. We see here the adult, and the inside see the nymph. The larva has eaten all the eggs or new larvae and is transformed in the nymph. We have here the holes of where the adult is out. It is very effective. Uh, we see here very clear holes from which the adult of Scutellista came out from body of the scale after it has consumed the eggs or new larvae of Sycetiolea. A very good picture, very clear picture. All this scale are destroyed from parasites. This is another predator. This is not parasite, this is predator. They eat direct the larvae of Sycetiolea. Exocomus quadripustulatus is very effective. We see here the adult eating the new larvae. We see here the larvae of Exocomus. Another very effective parasite on Sycetiolea is Cocophagus spicis, parasite and parasite larvae of Sycetiolea. As I mentioned above, in general, in organic groves, black scale of olive is not serious problem. That is so thanks to big number of beneficial insects, which are very effective in reduction of Sycetiolea population. If we take the branches of olive where has parasite scale and bring in the infected olive groves, the parasite will be spread in the olive groves. His possibility, the next year population of scale will be reduced very fast because the population of parasites and predators are increased very fast. But as I mentioned before, in organic olive production blocks, we have not so much such problem because in uh, in organic production we don't use conventional insecticides. As we know, the conventional insecticide has a bad neighbor effect against beneficial insects. Perhaps in organic agriculture, the situation is much more friendly in comparison with conventional olive groves. Another very dangerous insect in olive groves is olive moth, Paraisolea. We see here the adult, the damage in the buds. We see the larvae on the leaves. We see here against the symptom. We see in the leaves and in the fruits. Because as I will tell again, this kind of insect we find in the three stages: in the leaves, on the flowers, and on the fruits. Stages of olive moth Paraisolea. The adult in the olive moth has the size 6 to 7 millimeters in length and about 40 millimeters wingspan. Egg. The egg has a diameter of 0.5 millimeter, is lenticular and crochet. Its color is whitish during the laying, but it's changed to yellow as hatching approached. Larvae. Light color, green or brown, with a length about 8 millimeters at the end of its development phase. Chrysalids or pupe or cocoon. They are protected by silk and plant debris. This is a characteristic, this silk is the characteristic from cocoon. Perhaps it's called the cocoon. We see here the pheromones monitoring of Spiraea, and we see here the view of the adult Spiraea. Spiraea has 3 annual generations. Has phytophagous generation that feeds with leaves and buds. Anthophagous generation, the Spiraea feed the leaves, flowers of olive. And carpophagous generation feed on the seeds and almost with olive. Carpophagous generation is most harmful and can cause several damage. Sometimes, in some cases, the Spiraea make more damage than olive fly, but many farmers underestimate it. Many farmers are not has not enough knowledge for detect to see the damage of Spiraea. Perhaps in the future, Spiraea need more attention. Now something more about for each generation. Philophagous generation on the leaves. Larvae are feeding on the leaves of the olive inside the tissue of the leaves in mine form. This generation developed from September until the April of next year. In the leaves will be transformed in a pupe next year. The larvae produce a silk, a cocoon, on underside of the leaves in order to be protected in the trunk of the olive trees or on the ground. Ontophagus generation we can find on the flowers. During the April-May, pupe or chrysalid or cocoon is transformed in adult, is transformed in the moth. The moth, after mating, lay the eggs on the olive flowers. From the eggs hatch the larvae. The larvae feed mainly from anthers and stigmas of the flowers. During this phase, the Spiraea can feed on between 20 and 30 olive flowers. When the larva is complete in size, forms a chrysalid or cocoon and is protected with direct in dry flowers. Is protected in dry flowers. This generation is very fast developing, just a month and a half. Carpophagous generation. After second generation on the leaves, from cocoons, for pupils and chrysalids, hatched adult of the moth. After mating of the female, moth lay the eggs on the young olive fruits. After about 5 days, the larvae penetrate inside the new olive fruits, feeding with smooth endocarp of olive seeds. Inside the fruits, larvae continue for 25 to 30 days. During the September and October, the mature larvae came out the olive fruits. After that, the larvae are transformed in the pube, in cocoon. From the cocoon hatch the adult. After hatching, adults lay the eggs on the leaves. The leaves in protected places stay until the April the next year in order to begin the new generation. So continue the life cycle of Praesolea from years to years. Here we see development of Carpophagous generation of olive moths in the fruits. We see here the different stages, and the fourth, the larva came out from the seed of the fruits. Olive moth control. In organic agriculture, with success are used bioinsecticides with the basis Bacillus. Bacillus thuringiensis varietate crustacei or variety Isaiwai. Before we use the Bacillus strains, we need to know the level of infection in olive groves. The strategy is to kill the larvae on the leaves and larvae on the flowers, as well the larvae before they enter inside the leaf fruits. For that reason, it is indispensable functioning of monitoring system with pheromones. As a threshold orientation for treatments for protection of olive from Ontophagous generation, some authors have recommended that when they are open, 5% of the flowers. For Carpophagous generation, it is profitable when there are more 20% of olive with eggs present. The application is done when half of laying eggs already are hatched. As is mentioned above, the first of all, during the season, need monitoring of laying dynamic of moth by pheromones. Need to know infection of the leaves in order to predict the potential of next generation. Need to know the level of infection on the fruits. With such data, control measures are implemented in professional way. Most effective against olive moth are the beneficial insects. A very economic role in reduction of olive moth population play beneficial insects as larvae of Chrysoperla carnea. This beneficial insect is feed on the eggs laid by olive fly. Also, the parasitoid Hymenoptera of the species Ageniaspis fusticolis, Angitia armillata, Celonus rimatus, and Diaderma semiculatus play a good role in reduction of population in olive groves. We need to know the kind of beneficial insect in order to protect and to create the condition for multiplication in natural way in olive groves. You see here the Carnea, very effective in olive moth larvae and the eggs. Here is a dark red viverine, Orthorhynchus cribricolis. This is a small coleopter. He has no possibility to fly. He stays on the soil around the trunk. And we see here the symptoms. The adult has eaten leaves is so. As I mentioned, dark red beetle frees the olive leaves in the form of a saw. has a size about 7 mm. In nursery, the damage has more importance because the plants have small volume of the leaves. Adults lay the eggs on the soil. The eggs have white color. From the eggs hatch the larvae that have more or less the same size as the adult, 7 to 8 mm. After 15 to 20 days, the larvae reach the normal size. The larvae transform in the nymph in the soil. Larvae developed slowly during the winter. In October-November, pass in the nymph stage. Pupe stage or nymph stage length it depends from climatic conditions. Majority of the adults emerge at the end of November and during December. In January, February, adults go down in the soil. Dark great whales develop one generation per year, but in climatic conditions could make more generation. In general, has not any special chemical treatments. In the nursery perhaps could make any intervention, but not in olive with a big crown, because, as I mentioned, olive crown has a large volume of the leaves and it's not a big problem. The adults are located around the olive trunk under the soil. In the spring, adults upward on the tree trunk because they don't fly. In order to interrupt the road of the crown around the trunk, we tie a belt with synthetic cotton. The adult gets stuck in the cotton band and the adult not reach the olive crown. The cultivation of soil of olive groves help a little bit in reduction of insect population. Mulching with organic matter collect the adults around the trunk. It is possible to collect the adult and to kill them mechanically. In the picture we see how function the synthetic cotton belt on the trunk of the olive. In another picture we see the adult are remain in the cotton and have no possibility to overcome and to go on the crown and to eat the leaves. This is a quite simple method and many countries are used it successfully, especially in Italy. Is used everywhere and is simple and very, very cheap. This is a last slide of presentation. In this presentation, we are focused in black scale biology and control, olive moth Pridesolea biology and control, dark red weevil Orthorhynchus cribricolis and control measure. We have spoken for monitoring, control measure, and a little bit for beneficial insect in the olive groves. We hope this presentation will help you for independent job for more deep information in the future. Thank you very much for your attention and goodbye to the next lessons.